Brad Biggs.
Morning, George. I'm curious, what questions did you ask Ryan and Matt specifically about the quarterback position, and what did they offer you that provided you with confidence in regards to that position?
Well, we did discuss the quarterback position at length. I'm not going to go into the specifics because their end of season evaluation of the roster hasn't been completed. But it's pretty clear we need better production from the quarterback position in order to be successful.
Are you confident they can deliver that for you in 21?
Yes, we are.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on Sports Zone Chicago. Ivan, you're on point today, dude. On freaking point. You're making me choke over here. I'm dying. I'm dying over here. Man, let me tell you. You know, that was perfect. And that's where I would have, you know what? That's where I would have, if I were Brad Biggs, I would have said, what gives you the confidence when you look at Ryan Pace's situation here, his drafting of Mitch Trubisky, and now having to sign Nick Foles to cover up for the mistake of that. That's where you throw that in as a follow-up question to really put him on the hot seat. But my next guest, man, he gets as fired up as I do about football, man. You have to make sure you listen to him. He's from the Tape Never Lies network, and man, he gets fired. He's super chill, man, but don't get him fired up because he gets fired up like me, man. I love it. You can find him on. He's an IG guy, so find him on IG. Because you can find him on Twitter at fulfill, but he's more of an IG guy, so you can find him on Instagram at Phil_Atoshin. Guys, let's bring him out. The man, the myth, the legend, my brother from another mother, Phil Atoshin. Phil, what's up, buddy? How are you?
There he is. What's going on, Shawn?
Man, dude, did you hear this nonsense that they're trying to spit at us on Wednesday? That was just unbelievable. Like I couldn't believe. Like you actually, I said it.
Did I hear it? I lived it.
I said so. You know what that reminded me of? My cousin Vinny in the courtroom where he has the leather jacket and the judge Fred Gwynn, rest in peace, Herman Munster.
Yeah.
The judge tells him he needs to be dressed appropriately, bring a suit and tie, and so he comes back the next day and he's like, "Didn't I tell you to dress appropriately?" And Joe Pesci's like, "You were serious about that?" That's what when these guys were speaking, you're like, "You're serious about that?" Like it was such a condescending.
That's the word.
Condescending and patronizing presser from the Bears to their fans. And we talked about it because I was telling him earlier, I said I would have lost my credentials because my first question would have been after that, what gives you the confidence that Ryan Pace can do this again when his track record, the drafting of Kevin White led to the signing of Allen Robinson, the overpaying of Allen Robinson. His drafting of Leonard Floyd, who's now sacking our quarterback, led to the signing, the overpaying of Robert Quinn. The drafting of Mitch Trubisky led to the overpaying of Nick Foles. So what makes you think that he's going to get it right now after 3 out of his 4 first-round picks? And thank God he got Roquan right because Roquan is a monster. But 3 out of his first 4 first-round picks are busts. I would guarantee you my credentials would have been pulled after that question. Guaranteed.
Well, this is a guy in Ryan Pace that has had 6 years as a GM. How many people get that many swings and it just gets blown like a pothole just being fixed, with some putty here and there. It's so hard for me. Like this has been, and I'm not exaggerating, Shawn, I get fired up. My tank feels empty because when you see the corporate world invade what would be an easy remedy to fixing this, and they still triple down because I listened to Waddle and Sylvie was pushing hard on all of the things that we said on our show, keeping it 100. I know you watch. So it's like, we're not saying Ted Phillips meddles. We're saying Ted Phillips is involved in hiring the GM, quote, football people. So what the remedy would be, Shawn, and we'll get into Pace, is to get a football person, not named outside firm, Ernie Accorsi, who's a shoe salesman. You could throw Hall of Fame bullshit stat at me. I know what Ernie is, and that exactly. That's your head coach. I hope Ivan could pull up the little. One of my fans sent me a cartoon, and then I just built off of it. My boy Jay, on my page, and this is how I feel. Shawn, I said it. There's so many thoughts that I have. It deserves its own show at this point, because it's like, you got to get football people to make football decisions.
Bingo. Can you say it again for all the slow people in the back who are on their phones?
You got to get football people to make football decisions. This is a sport unlike anything else. It is so imperative that you get the head coach right. It's so imperative that you get the GM right. Look at what Shawn's telling you. All those first-round picks. Adam Shaheen, add him. Add
Second
Mike
round.
Glennon. Add the quarterbacks before him. Think about all the quarterbacks they've signed while this guy was the GM. Think about this. The cliches of where football is won and lost. You know I do. The tape never lies. I'm not a blog boy. I don't freaking write narratives and stories to try to get clicks and attention. I put out the tape to tell you the truth of what's going on where it matters, on the field. Because all the drama and soap opera that we're seeing is disgusting. They basically went up there for 90 minutes and said, fuck you, Bear fans. We're doing what we do. We've done this for 21 years with this clown, Ted Phillips. He's got nothing to show for it. The record against the Green Bay Packers under Ted Phillips is sad and sickening. Your head coach is 1-6 versus the Packers. That's so irritating to Virginia and George. The thing that really, and I'm stealing from my partner, Shane, like I met George McCaskey. The first question, I met him in New England. I said, George, great to meet you. Down to earth, nice man. You would never think he was an owner. He's walking around in freaking dad jeans and a freaking Chicago Bears button-up jacket, right? And I said to him, bro, can you just put down the field turf? Can you just do that and step into the new age? Because football is, especially the Bears, you guys are building a team under Ryan Pace built for speed. You got to be able to not slip on the Soldier Field slip count that we ended up talking. Oh, no, we've done all the studies.
All the research.
We did. Guess the first freaking person he mentioned? Ted Phillips. Ted Phillips has done all the stuff. This is what I'm telling you. And I want to get it on your show because I heard it from Sylvie. Again, listen, I just give credit where credit is due. Sylvie hypothesized a conspiracy. Now, you know my uncle is Sam Rutigliano, former Cleveland Browns head coach. He told me the McCaskies came to him in 1978 or 1980, whatever year they hired Ditka. Sam had left Cleveland. They offered him
83. Well, go ahead.
83. They offered him the Bears job. The Buffalo Bills were offering Sam that job, and he decided to take a break from coaching. But he knew through all his grapevine that the McCaskies were corporate run. They were, the family run. And they're not going to, I want a GM. These are the things I want. I think Venisi was there, and then they got rid of the GM. All this. Let's fast forward to now, to the millennials. We got Ted Phillips and George doubling and tripling down on the reality that there doesn't need to be a football president. He's saying Ryan Pace is the football guy. So what does that translate to as fans? Then who's going to hold Ryan Pace accountable? If you don't have a temperature of what the expectation is, X's and O's wise, fundamentals and teaching, what your football coach is doing, Ryan Pace isn't going to say, I messed up Mitch, and I messed up Nagy, and I messed up Leonard Floyd and John Fox. He's not doing. You're supposed to be doing. It's you, and guess what? I need Ted to hold my hand. Now back to Sylvie with the conspiracy. He said Chicago, the city, and Daly hated the Bears and the McCaskies. And this timeline is very important. So when you think about the Bears trying to get a field, and they were threatening to go to St. Louis, and they were threatening to go to Indiana, and all of that drama way back prior to reconstructing Soldier Field.
It's the shit show it is now, but go ahead.
Michael McCaskey and Daly they hated each other.
Yep,
so
that was documented.
They couldn't get the field approved or rebuild somewhere. They even wanted to go some other town in Illinois.
Rosemont. It's right by the airport.
Thank you. So they were trying to do something, and no, it wasn't going to go.
And
so
Rosemont was welcoming them because that would have been perfect for them. But go ahead.
Michael McCaskey was the president. Michael McCaskey couldn't get the field done, and then hires, without getting the signature, Dave McGinnis. Mama Hallis McCaskey, Virginia, gets so embarrassed, she puts her son Michael on a timeout, removes his title, and Ted Phillips proceeds to negotiate this contract. And guess what? He becomes the president. He then takes over from Mike, not George, not anybody else, Ted Phillips. He gets the freaking field deal done, and then there's a handshake agreement. And I really believe this, that you have a job here for your life until you want it. And that's why when they're asking contracts and why can't you put Ted Phillips out to pasture and be the accountant? Nope, Ted's the CEO. And you heard it, and you can't believe it, Shawn. And everybody, I'm on the East Coast, are laughing at the curtain that is being pulled back on the Wizard of Frauds up there in Chicago. And that is the long story to Ryan Pace being under the umbrella of not even saying it's got to be better. Well, George, you said that last year. Yep. They're 8-9. They technically, for the blog boys and nerds, the percentage got lower. You backed into the playoffs. You said all the right things. And then when it's time to make a change, we don't do it based on change. Shawn, they promoted their culture.
Unbelievable. And I forgot. Hey, we're joined by Phil Toshin, the man.
George is getting upset.
From the Tape Never Lies Network, and we're talking Bears football right here on Shawn and Maya on Sports Zone Chicago. When they said that, and I forgot what reporter asked, he pressed. He said the culture. You're talking about the culture, and they just don't. I don't understand. Put it this way: I wish I had that much confidence that my balls were that big to go out and do what they did on Wednesday. Because that took a pair. That took a pair to come out to millions and millions of Bear fans across the country.
They didn't even put
the world.
They didn't even put it on YouTube or Facebook because they didn't want the comments to be running down the pipeline while they're talking that bullshit. So they just subjugated it, controlled it like politicians do on their own website until later releasing it on YouTube and everything like that.
One of the things that, and this is actually a great quote from one of our good our listeners, I can't even think what the hell I'm trying to
Exactly.
say. It said
He's
how
one
you
of our
treat your Hall
fans.
of Famers. Yeah, Miguel. When you
Yes.
treat your Hall of Famers and your former players, like bring them out, like have them do more things in the community. Have them, what they did to Chico with Lovey Smith when
Oh
Lovey
my
Smith ran him
God.
out of town is atrocious. Why hasn't Chico been brought back? Why hasn't Mike Singletary been brought back? Why hasn't Leslie Frazier been brought back? These are all coaches. These
Right.
are all coaches who've had success.
Let
Who've
me
had
say this.
success.
Our network uncovered something so despicable. Speaking of Hall of Famers, Miguel and others, we documented this story because we questioned, how does Gale Sayers pass and you do nothing for him? He passes, I believe, in late September, October, and you did nothing for him till the final game. And you know what they did? They painted a circle with number 40 where the water boy stands on the sideline. They didn't put anything on their helmets.
That's
They didn't do
jersey, nothing.
anything on the jersey. This is a travesty of epic performance. And it just keeps going and going and going. You're 100% right. I want to say two things so I don't forget. Speaking of former players, I'm making the push. I already told this man. I go, whether you want it or like it or not, I'm not blowing smoke. I'm making the push for Olin Kreutz to get in there and become the president to replace Millhouse, Mr. Ted Phillips, get a football guy in there. And before me and Cap were texted back and forth from ESPN. I said, Cap, he's the right guy. Well, he's not ready. He's not
Who the
business.
hell is ready?
Yeah, exactly. I go, listen, business and corporate world hasn't worked in 21 years. Bean counting and numbers and analytics, throw that all out. Get me somebody that A, was the captain, that busted his ass, that was basically overlooked because of his size, and was winning because of his work ethic and toughness. That's the foundation of Olin. Now, watch him. You talk about him as a broadcaster. He came on our show and admitted it. At first, I was nervous. I didn't even want to do it. I hate the media. And now you watch him, and he's electric. But then on top of that, he gets what needs to be fixed because he, like Chris Ballard, as you and I talked, we're all wrapped up in the culture and the bullshit that goes on at Hallis Hall. So I hope every fan listening to this, I hope you too. Olin Kreutz, president. I've pushed for years for a former Yale, Gary Fencing, to do it. But you know what? These are new times. I love Olin. I think he gets it. And I think truth, now more so than ever, with COVID and this crazy freaking political world of separating based on your political stance, instead of being humans with empathy and compassion, football should not be a part of politics. And the Chicago Bears have done just that. They've made it political. And that's why Nagy still has his job. And that's why Ryan Pace still has his job. And that's why us fans, us people, our analysts and analysts like me and you need the help of the fans as well as to raise our own voices to do it. Because let me just say this on my last point about this organization and how political and corporate it is. First, with Phil Emery, the word was synergy. Then Ryan Pace, and it's going to be changed. Going to change. And you had John Fox, right? Then with Fox gone, you got Nagy. Hope. They threw hope out there when he was hired. We're going to hope. They're painting the walls at Hallis with quotes. Remember? Then it became regression last season. Regression. Club dub to regression, right? Then this year, it's collaboration. And that's their monikers. And that's what a corporate run world does. They try to play magician with nice hand switches, slick hand.
Bait and switch, yeah.
Yeah, bait and switch.
Sleight of hand.
Sleight of hand. It's sleight of vocal here. Collaboration. We collaborate. You got the wrong guys in the huddle. I don't give a shit how long you're going to collaborate until you get somebody that is an outside voice that knows football, that can recognize Ryan Pace for the freaking phony that he is. Because at the most important position, you passed on 2 generational talents.
You had a 66% chance of getting it right.
And
You
you
had a
did it.
66% of getting it right. Is Mahomes? I wouldn't even, because we don't even know about Mahomes because he came out of the air raid and no one had done it. It was like the run and shoot.
Right.
Well,
right.
how do you pass up a guy that just came out of
just
2
couldn't believe
national
it.
championships through against Alabama? The NFL's basically the 33rd NFL team in Alabama, and throws for 400 yards in each of those championship games. But you pass on him.
And
You don't even pass on him. You don't even bring him in for an interview.
You didn't even bring him in.
apparently
That's
you had
dereliction of duties.
apparently you had Mahomes as your number 2. You know what I'm saying? Apparently Mahomes is your number 2, and they keep asking him, Phil and Sean, and you had mentioned it. They kept being persistent, and I felt like they did a good job overall, the media, at being persistent. And they asked him, what was the reason? What was the reason? What was the difference? And there was no answer. And there was no answer for those 95, 97 minutes that there was no answer.
Oh, he's got great get off. That's what we know. That's Ryan Pace. When questioned about the quarterback, if you see his face, he gets that grit teeth of anger because there's video documentation of, and I did this for the Tape Never Lies Network. I produced an open showing Ted Phillips in the draft room. If he's not involved in football, why is he there? No other, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. He's in there celebrating the selection of Mitch Trubisky. And when you watch the audio, Ryan Pace goes down the list of everybody picking Mitch Trubisky as the number 1 best quarterback on their board. And that's why they had to get him. Your points are completely 100% true. The neglect is the fact that you didn't meet with him. George was asked about that, and he had no response for it, like you do other things than take people out for dinner and talk with them. That was his defense when he was forced to answer that. I heard that on the radio. So here are the other 2 things that make it even more infuriating if I'm not getting you so upset already. You have an organization that hires this guy that's never been a head coach, never really been an offensive coordinator. He just called plays 1 playoff game. And oh, by the way, he had the leading rusher in the league in that game and ran him 7 times. You heard that before? Because he did it here and broke a franchise 100 years at that time record that never has the Chicago Bears rushed just 7 times.
Less than 10 times.
Yeah, in a game ever. But that's Matt Nagy. So you hired this guy. At some point, when you make this kind of selection like Adam Shaheen and Matt Nagy, and you're going off the cuff to be what you say, the smartest guy in the room, you have to have some comeuppance. You have to. And they're preaching accountability. There's none there. There's no accountability.
Phil, they just like to say that. They like to say it so it's out there. So the dumb fans, and there are some dumb Bears fans, but there's not a lot. Bear fans are pretty intelligent. And when you just say that, so what's accountable? So when you have a guy that goes from 12-4 to 8-8, stays at 8-8, well, that's a regression. From 12-4 to 8-8 is a regression. And then you stay the same.
8-9.
8-9, excuse me. 12-4, 8-8, 8-9.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that is a regression. So where's the accountability? Where's the is that because where Chuck Pagano was, and I feel was quote unquote asked to retire.
Oh, absolutely.
So he's the fall guy like Harry Heastan
Harry Heastan.
and Mark Helfrich were the year before. See, that's the thing that bugs me is that those guys they just don't admit, they can't admit that they're wrong.
If you're not a good coach, it shows up on the tape. The fundamental teachings of 2018's football team defensively, you could see a difference in how the linebackers in the secondary play under a Vic Fangio versus a Pagano. So there's a difference in coaching and teaching, even if you're teaching the same kind of scheme. It's the accountability factors. It's the, I don't really want to yell at this guy again to do it. You start to get lazy. You're not maniacal in setting an expectation of what it is you guys need to do. If the goal is to be average or below, and that's what we've always questioned, whether or not the McCaskies care, because it's never been about money for me. I was told a long time ago, they're not cheap. They want to do the right thing. They just don't want to have anybody else, or they owe Ted Phillips because of that deal. And thus, his grubby little hands, as I always quote you, are on this, and thus it impedes doing what every successful organization, including the one you so desperately hate in the Green Bay Packers, who are run by the freaking town or whatever the hell they're run by. They have a CEO that's a freaking football guy that hires the GM, and they talk, and then he decides if you. It's so ass backwards. And when you ask George McCaskey the hard question, the one that says on the resume that all of the misses, all of the lack of focus, the losing, you can't go in a presser, Shawn, in a game of football and try to champion a 6-game losing streak as a positive. But these guys did that.
Yes, they did. That was going to be my next point.
That is the showcase. That is the showcase. Like, hey, we keep calling this Sonata back on recall. At least you didn't blow up in it. It's ridiculous.
Most teams would have started pointing fingers, but during the 6-game losing streak, our team came together. They stood together, and I'm like, well, why did you go on a 6-game losing? Why did you go on a 6-game losing streak to begin with? Why wasn't that nipped in the bud? Why weren't there changes made after 2 losses in a row? After 3 losses in a row? Why weren't things done at that particular point?
Exactly.
And to celebrate, they actually came out, and you're right, they celebrated that 6-game losing streak. And this is why I say it was a very condescending and it was a very patronizing press conference that they had yesterday. And I'm telling you, my contempt for Ted Phillips. First, he was irrelevant to me, okay. But after yesterday, he seemed very bold, very daring, very combative. And I'm like, listen, dude, for someone who can't do your job because you need to go hire Ed Corsi to help you pick a general manager, that's your job.
Exactly.
That's your job in your job description. You pick the general manager. Well, I really can't do it, so let me go waste the organization's money to find someone help me do my job. Hey, Phil, how's that going to work with your job over there? Say, you know what? I really can't do it. So do me a favor, hire somebody else to help me do my job. And then when we're done, then you can let him go. But I'm still going to keep mine. Come on, man. It's ridiculous.
Think about 2 images in that presser. Ted Phillips sitting in his office that looked like the king's, king of the North, with the lighting and the trophies. Even had the audacity to have Gale Sayers' helmet in the background if you look. And then you look at the owner's office, and it looks like he's in the back room at freaking McDonald's as the manager there. That's telling you. Every time George was in a jam, he's looking over for Ted. That's telling you. And how ironic is this, Shawn? The head coach and the GM were so belittling towards Mitch Trubisky in that thing. They didn't even mention his name. They just called quarterback. Quarterback needs to be better. And they're skipping over it. When the ironic thing is that quarterback is the reason why he might have saved. I know this. He saved Matt Nagy's job in those 3 games where you're playing up against the Texans, the Vikings, and the Jaguars. Mitch Trubisky saves your job there, and that's the truth. And this guy's going to stick around. I can't even stomach listening to him at this point, let
You're right.
alone watching. Let me tell you this. No one's talking about it. I released the tape Never Lies for the patrons, and I appreciate you being one of them. It means a lot to me. And I break down the tape. It's a travesty on coaching that this is the playoffs, and your offensive line, your offense, your receivers still don't know their assignments, don't play to the whistle, and you have to question. Because I'm telling you right now, I walked away from the tape, and I'll tell you, just like I felt, my father actually said it right after the game, that defense played hard. They did. They
Yep.
messed up. That's part of football. But they played hard. Just think about that goal line stand at the end. Think about it. And you'll watch it on the tape. You'll see. The offense, where this guy came into and to be hired, it was terrible. You had 3 points. 3. Until they go prevent, you go down the field with, oh, by the way, Riley Ridley and Jimmy Graham.
And that's how you know it was a Matt Nagy called game because it was a close game. It wasn't a blowout. So that means that they would have continued to run the ball. That means that they would have continued to pound the ball because it wasn't close. And then Javon Wims with that touchdown. Imagine he catches that touchdown and we're ahead.
Different game.
It's a whole that changes the narrative. So this was I think Nagy knew before the game that he was safe. Okay, I think he knew.
Probably,
and what he knew, I think he said, you know what, fuck it. If I'm going to go down, I'm going down my way. And that's throwing the ball 87 times and running it 10. So don't worry about the fact that we just won 3 in a row running the ball and giving our and setting up an identity for us, for our defense to keep them fresh, to start manhandling, to wear down other defense. Don't worry about that. I have to be the smartest guy in the room because it's my offense, and we're going to run 50 times, and we're going to pass, 50 times a game, and that's what you saw in the playoff game. I believe that was a completely a Nagy called game, just about 100% of the time. Absolutely. You go back there, collecting the check, and do nothing.
Anybody questioning whether Matt Nagy's calling plays, you're just completely out of the loop. And those games early, exactly, but. When they asked him, did you see that in the thing?
Yeah.
He wouldn't answer.
Nope.
He pushed it aside. He did the sleight of hand, as I've been saying, with the magician. He couldn't go down. If you're calling plays, I'm calling plays. Rex Ryan went on there, destroyed him.
Yes, he did.
Dan Orlovsky went on there, destroyed him. Louis Riddick's on the radio, destroying his buddy. And the culture that doesn't exist. We are the Lions right now, minus a quarterback. That's how bad we've gotten. And that's the God's honest truth. And you look at the numbers and you look at the record, what did they try to say? We won 3 out of the last 5, whatever. In reality, you lost 8 of the last 11. So you see the corporate number game. It's so unfortunate, man, because Bears fans deserve so much better. The city of Chicago deserves so much better. And I'll say this, the Chicago Bears, minus the owners, deserve so much better. Because if you make a deal with the devil, that is a bean-counting, ignorant, arrogant mother effer in Ted Phillips, just sitting there being so condescending, so smarmy. It's just smarmy, ugly, completely arrogant. You've done nothing but ruin. And Shane, the smartest man, was talking about him. He's not involved in football. It's documented. Mark Hatley had a deal to go up and get LaDainian Tomlinson, a Hall of Fame running back, right? And guess who negged it? The guy that doesn't, he's not involved in football. Yeah, he is. He negged it. And this is what you're having to deal with because the McCaskies, and I honestly think it is the true story. Sylvie is onto it. Granted, he's giving a hyperbole or a, what do you call it?
Hypothesis.
Hypothesis. He's coming up with a conspiracy here. But I'm telling you, based on my family and the people that I know, Ted Phillips must have some agreement that no matter what, until he says it's time to retire, he is going to be involved. And that's unfortunate. And they can't even figure out that nobody, I mean, Potash, credit to him, he doubles back. He's like, I'm not saying you're meddling or Ted is meddling. I'm saying you're in charge of hiring the football people. So
Right.
that essentially means you're the football guy. So what are you going to do? Hire Saxon North and Jimmy Kimmel and Johnson, a law firm, search firm, to help you find the next GM? Get a football guy in there. Catch up to the millennium. That's what the winning teams do. You're a big friend of Bill Bidwell? He's talking to other owners. Shawn, how do you get? I'm talking to other owners. I respect what Green Bay does. I talk to other owners. Yeah? You think they don't want to we're going to lead this dumb nerd down the wrong path. Talk to football people and hire one like Peyton Manning or Olin Kreutz, like I said, that's going to go in there, know the league, know what it takes, and get the right person that's going to be the GM that searches and finds the next Bill Belichick or the next LaFleur that clearly has things rocking and rolling up in Green Bay. Instead, we're here looking like the Lions.
We are. Phil, we got to let you go, buddy. I know you got to get back to work, and I appreciate your every time, man. Do me a favor, let everyone know where they can find you online.
You can find me at Phil_Toshin on Instagram. You could DM me or Philitoshin there. On Facebook, I always respond to everybody, as well as the Tape Never Lies Network. Today, I'll release the playoff game. I call it the Playoff Mirage. And I'll release that later today on our network. Follow us at the Tape Never Lies Network on Twitter and all of the social media, Shawn. Just like you, at Shawn Sierra on all the social media. There's one of my boys right there, Alex Acevedo. He's in charge of our swag. We got to get some swag on you, Shawn.
I got to get my 420 hoodie. I saw that.
Yeah, you got to get that 420 hoodie.
I know. I can't wait. It's gonna look
Claudio's pissed. He wants that. I'm going to be live tomorrow if you're a patron with my father. We're going to be breaking down the X's and O's with X's with the O's. The creative title, Shawn.
Nice.
With my dad and I, we're going to break down 6 plays from the playoffs and just show you how poorly this guy is coaching the offense. It's fun.
X's with the O's. That's good. That's very catchy. I like what you did there.
There you go. All right, Ivan. Do me a favor. I don't want Shane on my back again. Send my appearance over to Shane.
Gotcha.
He'll share it on our YouTube page and promote what you guys got going on here. I'm so proud to come on here. That's not smoke. I love the both of you. In these tough times, we got to have people that are fighters. And there's not 2 better people I want behind me when I step to the podium and start fighting to change what is going on with the Chicago Bears. God bless you guys.
All right, man. We'll see you. Have a great weekend. Guys, that was Phil Toshin from the Tape Never Lies Network. Good stuff. We got to take a quick break, and on the other side of the break, we're going to switch gears. We're going to talk a little basketball. All right, so don't go anywhere. Ivan and I are going to be talking Bulls basketball. Keep it locked right here. Shawn and Maya on Sports Zone Chicago.